The morning shift on Kepler Station started like any other day. Captain Maria Santos walked through the central plaza, watching children play near the fountain while their parents headed to work in the mining facilities. The artificial sky showed a soft blue color, programmed to help the colonists feel at home despite being 300 light-years from Earth. Santos checked her watch. The supply ship from Earth was due to arrive in 6 hours. 50,000 people called Kepler Station home now, making it humanity's largest settlement outside the solar system. The station orbited a gas giant rich in helium-3, fuel that kept Earth's fusion reactors running. Another quiet day in paradise, Santos said to her assistant, Lieutenant Commander James Park, as they walked toward the command center. Park smiled. The miners are ahead of schedule this month. The new extraction equipment is working better than expected. Santos nodded. 3 years of peaceful operations had made them all comfortable. The galaxy seemed empty except for humans. No signs of alien life anywhere, despite decades of searching. Some scientists thought humans might be alone in the universe. They were wrong. The first sign of trouble came from the outer sensor array. Technician First Class Chen Wei was monitoring the deep space scanners when her screen lit up with contacts. Dozens of them, moving fast toward the station. Captain Santos to the command center. Emergency! Chen's voice cracked over the intercom. Santos and Park ran to the command center. Chen pointed at her screen with a shaking hand. Ma'am, I'm reading 47 ships approaching our position. They're big, and they're not responding to our hails. Santos stared at the display. The ships were massive, each one larger than Kepler Station itself. Their design was unlike anything in human databases. Sharp angles, dark metal, and energy. Readings that made no sense. How long until they reach us? Santos asked. 18 minutes at current speed, Chen replied. Santos grabbed the communications console. This is Captain Maria Santos of Kepler Station to approaching vessels. Please identify yourselves and state your intentions. We are a peaceful mining colony. Only Static answered. Park was already at the defense console. Captain, our weapons are designed for asteroid clearing, not ship-to-ship combat. I know, Santos said. She opened the general alarm. Throughout the station, warning lights flashed red. All civilians to emergency shelters. This is not a drill. The alien ships slowed as they approached. They formed a perfect circle around Kepler Station, their dark hulls blocking out the stars. Each ship was at least 2 kilometers long, bristling, with weapons that humans had never seen before. Santos tried the radio again. Unknown vessels, this is Captain Santos. We are civilians. We have no military installations here. Please respond. A new voice filled the command center. It spoke in perfect English, but the tone was cold and mechanical. Human settlement designated for termination. Evacuation not permitted. Resistance is futile. Park grabbed Santos's arm. Captain, we need to get people to the escape pods. Santos shook her head. 50,000 people, James. We have maybe 200 escape pods, each holding 20 people maximum. We can't save everyone. The alien voice spoke again. Commencing sterilization protocol in 60 seconds. Santos hit the emergency broadcast button. Her voice echoed through every speaker on the station. All citizens of Kepler Station, this is Captain Santos. We are under attack by unknown hostile forces. Get to the emergency shelters immediately. Send any messages to your families now. God help us all. The countdown reached 0. The first alien ship fired. A beam of blue-white energy struck the station's outer ring. The metal didn't just melt, it turned to vapor instantly. Entire sections of the station disappeared in seconds. More beams followed. The aliens fired with precise timing, working their way inward. They weren't trying to destroy the station quickly. They were taking their time, making sure nothing survived. Santos watched the destruction on her screens. The civilian quarters were gone. The schools, the parks, the hospital, all reduced to glowing gas. Emergency shelters that were supposed to protect against asteroid impacts offered no defense against alien weapons. "My God," Park whispered. "They're not trying to capture us. They're exterminating us." The station shook as another section vanished. The artificial gravity failed in some areas. People floated helplessly in corridors that no longer had floors or ceilings. Chen was still at her post, fingers flying over her console. "Captain, I'm getting the emergency beacon ready. Maybe someone will hear it." Santos nodded. "Do it. Send. Everything. Ship designs, weapons data, tactical information. Someone needs to know what happened here." The beacon launched just as the alien weapons reached the command center. Santos felt the temperature rising as the walls began to glow. She grabbed the microphone one last time. "This is Captain Maria Santos. Final log. Kepler Station is under attack by hostile alien forces. They gave no warning, no demands, no chance to surrender. They are systematically destroying our entire colony. Tell Earth. Tell them we tried to—" The transmission cut to static. 300 light-years away. Commander Sarah Chen of the UES Nightborne was reviewing navigation charts when her communications officer called out. "Commander, we're receiving an emergency beacon from Kepler Station. It's bad, ma'am." Chen moved to the communications station. Lieutenant Torres was pale as he played back the transmission. "This is Captain Maria Santos. Final log. Kepler. Station is under attack by hostile alien forces." The bridge fell silent as Santos's last words faded to static. Chen stared at the communications display, her mind struggling to process what she'd heard. "When was this transmitted?" Chen asked. "Signal originated 43 minutes ago, ma'am. But with the distance, the attack would have started over 3 hours ago." Chen felt ice in her stomach. "Any other signals from Kepler Station?" Torres shook his head. "Nothing, ma'am. Complete radio silence." Chief Navigator Williams looked up from his station. "Commander, we're 18 hours away at maximum burn. If there are survivors—" "Plot a course," Chen ordered. "Emergency speed. All hands to battle stations." The UES Nightborne was humanity's newest destroyer equipped with experimental engines and the most advanced sensors in the fleet. She was fast, stealthy, and deadly. But she had been built to fight human pirates and raiders, not alien war machines. As the ship accelerated toward Kepler Station, Chen studied the data from the emergency beacon. The alien ships were enormous, their technology far beyond human capabilities. Their weapons could vaporize metal instantly. Worse, they had spoken English, which meant they had been watching humanity for some time. "Commander," her tactical officer called out. "I'm analyzing the weapon signatures from the beacon data. These energy readings, I've never seen anything like them." Chen nodded grimly. "Neither has anyone else, Lieutenant. We're dealing with something completely new." The hours passed slowly. Chen paced the bridge, reviewing every piece of data they had. The aliens had given no warning, made no demands, attempted no communication beyond the termination order. This wasn't conquest or robbery. This was extermination. "Commander, we're approaching Kepler Station," Williams announced. "Long-range sensors are—" Jesus Christ! On the main screen, Kepler Station appeared, or what was left of it. The massive mining platform had been reduced to a slowly expanding cloud of metallic vapor. Chunks of debris, some still glowing red-hot, drifted in loose orbits around the gas giant. "Life signs?" Chen asked quietly. The sensor officer worked, his console frantically. "None, ma'am. I'm not reading any escape pods, any intact sections, anything. It's all gone." Chen stared at the display. 50,000 people had lived and worked here yesterday. Now there was nothing but cooling metal and empty space. "Commander, I'm detecting residual energy signatures," the tactical officer reported. "The alien weapons left traces, very distinctive patterns. Can you track them?" "Yes, ma'am. The trails are fading, but I can follow them for now. Looks like the alien fleet left about 2 hours ago, heading toward the Centauri sector." Chen made Her decision. The UES Nightborne was just one ship against an entire alien fleet. By all logical thinking, she should return to Earth and report what they'd found. Let the Admiralty decide how to respond. But logic wasn't what made humans dangerous. Set course to follow those energy signatures, Chen ordered. We're going hunting. Her, First Officer Commander Roberts, stepped closer. Sarah, that's an entire alien battle fleet. We don't know their capabilities, their numbers, their intentions. Chen turned to face him, her eyes hard as steel. I know their intentions, Marcus. I just watched them murder 50,000 civilians without warning. That's all I need to know. The bridge crew looked at their commander. They all understood what she was asking. The Nightborne was fast and well-armed, but she was designed for hit-and-run attacks against human ships. The aliens had weapons that could vaporize a space station in minutes. Ma'am, the tactical officer spoke up. There is one advantage we might have. Our stealth systems are completely different from anything the aliens scanned at Kepler Station. They might not be able to detect us as easily as they detected the station. Chen nodded. That's what I'm counting on, Lieutenant. They think they know what humans are capable of. They're about to learn they're wrong. The UES Nightborne turned away from the debris field that had once been humanity's proudest colony. Her engines glowed brighter as she accelerated into the dark between stars, following the trail of the aliens who had committed genocide. Behind them, the wreckage of Kepler Station continued its slow drift around the gas giant. In the cold vacuum, there was no sound, no monument, no grave marker for the 50,000 souls who had died without warning. But their deaths would not go unanswered. Commander Sarah Chen had made a promise in the silence of space, and she intended to keep it. The aliens had started a war they didn't understand, against an enemy they had underestimated. They were about to learn why that was a fatal mistake. The UES Nightborne cut through space like a knife through water. Her experimental quantum drive pushed the ship far beyond normal speed limits, but Commander Sarah Chen demanded more. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Kowalski watched temperature. Readings climb into the red zone. Commander, the drive is running at 112% capacity. Kowalski's voice crackled over the intercom. Much more, and we risk a core breach. Chen stared at the main display, where the alien energy trail grew fainter with each passing hour. How long can we maintain this speed? Maybe 6 hours before we have to shut down for cooling. But ma'am, if we lose the trail... I know, Chief. Keep pushing it. Lieutenant Torres worked frantically at his sensor station. The alien energy signatures were unlike anything in human databases. They left traces in space itself, distortions that human sensors could barely detect. Commander, I'm losing the trail, Torres reported. The energy patterns are fading fast. Chen gripped her chair. After 3 hours of pursuit, they couldn't lose the aliens now. Can you project their course? Working on it, ma'am. Torres ran calculations on his screen. Based on their heading and speed, they could be going to several systems. Most likely. Candidates are Wolf 359, Ross 128, or Tau Ceti. Commander Roberts approached Chen's chair. Sarah, we need to consider our options. We're one ship against an unknown number of aliens with superior firepower. Chen nodded, but didn't take her eyes off the display. What's our weapon status? Tactical Officer Martinez checked his console. 2 forward plasma cannons, 4 missile tubes, and our defense grid. Standard armament for a destroyer. Against ships that can vaporize a space station in minutes, Roberts added quietly. Chen turned to her crew. 26 people, all volunteers, all trained for deep space operations. They had families back on Earth, dreams and hopes and futures. She was asking them to risk everything for revenge. I'm going to be honest with you all, Chen said. We're probably going to die out here. These aliens have technology we can't match and numbers we can't fight. Anyone who wants to object to this mission, speak now. The bridge fell silent. Chen waited, giving them time to think. Finally, Torres looked up from his console. Ma'am, My sister lived on Kepler Station. She was a teacher there. Martinez nodded. My cousin worked in the mining operations. One by one, the crew spoke up. Almost everyone had connections to Kepler Station. The colony had been humanity's pride, a symbol of their expansion into the galaxy. Then we're agreed, Chen said. We find these aliens, and we make them pay. The next few hours passed in tense silence. The Nightborne's engines strained against the laws of physics, while her crew searched for any trace of the alien fleet. Finally, Torres got a hit. Contact! I've got energy signatures in the Wolf 359 system. Definitely alien technology. Chen leaned forward. How many ships? Hard to tell from this distance. At least 20, possibly more. They're in orbit around Wolf 359b. Roberts frowned. That's the planet with the methane atmosphere. What would they want there? Fuel, maybe? Chen suggested. Or they're waiting for something. The Nightborne dropped out of quantum drive at the edge of the Wolf 359 system. Immediately, the ship's stealth systems activated. Her hull became a mirror, reflecting background starlight and masking her heat signature. Passive sensors only, Chen ordered. I don't want them to know we're here. Torres worked his console carefully. I'm reading 23 alien ships. They're maintaining a standard orbit around the planet. On the main screen, the alien fleet appeared. Each ship was a work of dark art, all sharp angles and gleaming metal. They moved with perfect coordination, like parts of a single organism. They're beautiful, someone whispered. Beautiful and deadly, Chen replied. What are they doing? Martinez studied the tactical display. It looks like they're harvesting something from the planet's atmosphere. I'm reading massive energy transfers. Chen nodded. Refueling. That means they're planning to go somewhere else. She paused. Or someone is coming to meet them. As if summoned by her words, space twisted near the alien fleet. New ships appeared, materializing out of nothing. These were even larger than the first group, massive dreadnoughts that dwarfed anything humanity had ever built. Jesus, Roberts breathed. How many of them are there? Torres counted rapidly. 47 ships total now. And Commander, I'm picking up communications between them. Can you translate? Working on it. The computer is analyzing the patterns. Torres paused, listening to his earpiece. Ma'am, they're speaking about Earth. Chen felt ice in her veins. What about Earth? I can only pick up fragments, but they're planning something. Multiple references to primary target and final cleansing. The terrible truth hit Chen like a physical blow. Kepler Station hadn't been the main attack. It had been a test, a way to gauge human defenses. The real target was Earth itself. How? Long until they finish refueling? Chen asked. Martinez ran calculations. At their current rate, maybe 8 hours. 8 hours before a fleet of alien dreadnoughts headed for Earth. The planet had defenses, but nothing designed to fight enemies. Like this. The orbital platforms and defense stations would last minutes against alien weapons. Chen made a decision that would have gotten her court-martialed under normal circumstances, but these weren't normal circumstances. We're going to attack them, she announced. Roberts stared at her. Sarah, that's suicide. We can't fight that many ships. We can't fight them head-on, Chen agreed, but we might not have to. She turned to Torres. You said our stealth systems are different from anything they've seen. How close can we get without being detected? Torres checked his readings. Unknown, ma'am. We're running completely passive right now and they don't seem to notice us. Martinez, what's the maximum range on our missiles? 50,000 kilometers with standard warheads. But ma'am, our weapons won't penetrate their shields. Chen smiled grimly. Maybe not, but they might not need to. She studied the tactical display, looking for weaknesses. Those ships are close together, sharing energy for the refueling operation. What happens if we disrupt that process? Martinez followed her thinking. If we could cause a feedback in their power grid... Exactly. We don't need to destroy their ships. We just need to damage them enough to delay their departure. Chen laid out her plan. The Nightborne would use her stealth systems to get close to the alien fleet. They would target the energy transfer systems connecting the ships to the refueling operation. If they could cause a cascade failure... It's crazy enough that it might work, Roberts admitted. Or it might get us all killed, Martinez added. Chen nodded. Probably both. But if we don't try, Earth falls. Those are the only options. The Nightborne crept closer to the alien fleet. Her stealth systems strained to hide the ship's presence as they moved through the sensor shadows between the massive alien vessels. Chen watched the distance counter drop. 100,000 kilometers, 75,000, 50,000. Still no reaction from the aliens, Torres whispered. At 30,000 kilometers, they could see individual details on the alien ships. The hulls were covered in strange symbols that seemed to shift and change when viewed directly. Energy flowed between the vessels in visible streams of blue-white fire. 25,000 kilometers, Martinez reported. We're in missile range. Chen studied the energy flow patterns. There, at the center of the formation, a massive ship that seemed to be coordinating the refueling operation. If they could hit that one. Target the central vessel, Chen ordered. Full spread all missiles. Ma'am, once we fire, they'll know we're here, Roberts warned. I'm counting on it, Chen replied. Fire. 4 missiles streaked from the Nightborne's tubes, their engines glowing bright against the dark of space. For a moment, nothing happened. The missiles flew straight and true toward their target. Then the alien ships exploded into motion. Point defense systems came online across the fleet. Beams of energy reached out to intercept the missiles. 3 were destroyed instantly, turned to vapor by alien weapons. But the 4th missile got through. It struck the central ship's energy transfer array with a brilliant flash. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then energy began to arc wildly between the ships. The carefully controlled power flow became a chaotic storm of electricity. One by one, the alien ships began to lose power. Their perfect formation broke apart as vessels drifted away from the energy storm. Several smaller ships collided as their navigation systems failed. But Chen had no time to celebrate. Dozens of alien weapons were now turning toward the Nightborne. "Emergency power to engines!" Chen shouted. "Get us out of here!" The Nightborne's quantum drive roared to life, pushing the ship away from the alien fleet at maximum acceleration. Behind them, energy beams reached out like fingers of death, missing the human ship by meters. "Damage report!" Chen called. "Hull integrity holding," came the reply from damage control. "Some minor systems offline, but we're intact." Torres monitored the alien fleet as they escaped. "Commander, the aliens are still dealing with the power feedback. It looks like several ships are completely dead in space." Chen allowed herself a small smile. They had done it. One human ship had struck at an entire alien fleet and lived to tell about it. More importantly, they had bought Earth time. But as the Nightborne fled into deep space, new contacts appeared on the sensors. More alien ships, coming from different directions. The fleet at Wolf 359 was just one part of a much larger force. "How many of them are there?" Roberts asked quietly. Chen stared at the sensor display, counting the new contacts. "Too many," she said finally. "But we've learned something important today." "What's that?" "They can be hurt. Their technology isn't magic and their ships aren't invincible." Chen turned to her crew. "We're going to send a message to Earth, warn them about the invasion, then we're going to keep hunting." "Ma'am, we're just one ship," Martinez pointed out. Chen nodded. "One ship, with 26 people who refuse to give up. The aliens think they know what humans are capable of. They're about to learn they're wrong." The UES Nightborne disappeared into the darkness between stars, carrying with her the hopes of humanity and the promise of vengeance. behind them. The alien fleet slowly recovered from the attack, but the damage was done. The hunt had begun. The UES Nightborne drifted silently through an asteroid field in the Vega system. Her hull was scarred from 3 weeks of hit-and-run attacks against the alien fleet. Commander Sarah Chen stood in the war room, studying holographic displays of alien ship movements. "They're adapting to our tactics," reported Lieutenant Torres. "After our last attack, they've started using different formation patterns." Chen nodded. The aliens she now knew were called the Zephyrian Hegemony had proven to be fast learners. Each attack taught them something new about human capabilities, but it also taught the humans about alien weaknesses. "What about the supply convoy we tracked yesterday?" Chen asked. Tactical Officer Martinez pulled up new data. 6 cargo ships, 2 escorts. They're carrying something important based on the heavy security. Chen studied the information. The Zephyrians had been moving supplies through this system for days. Each convoy followed the same route, used the same security protocols. They were creatures of habit, which humans could exploit. "Chief Kowalski, how are our missile supplies?" Chen called to the engineering station. "Down to 60%, Commander. We've been burning through ammunition faster than expected." Chen frowned. The Nightborne couldn't return to Earth for resupply. The planet was preparing for invasion, and every human ship was needed for defense. They were on their own out here. "We need to get creative," Chen said. She turned to her crew. "The aliens expect us to use missiles and energy weapons. What if we didn't?" Commander Roberts raised an eyebrow. "What do you have in mind?" Chen pointed to the asteroid field around them. "Millions of rocks, each one a potential weapon. The aliens have superior technology, but they think in terms of ship-to-ship combat. What if we change the rules?" The plan Chen developed was insane by conventional military standards. Instead of attacking the alien convoy directly, they would use the asteroids themselves as weapons. The Nightborne's mining charges, designed for asteroid processing, could be modified into improvised weapons. "We turned the entire asteroid field into a minefield," Chen explained. "The aliens come through their usual route and boom." Torres looked worried. "Commander, the timing would have to be perfect. One mistake and we blow ourselves up instead of them." "Then we don't make mistakes," Chen replied simply. The crew spent 8 hours preparing. Chief Kowalski and his engineers modified mining charges and placed them throughout the asteroid field. Each charge was connected to a remote detonator and hidden inside seemingly normal rocks. Meanwhile, Torres worked on a new communications project. Using captured alien technology from their previous attacks, he had built a basic translator for Zephyrian language. "Commander, I think I can send them a message they'll understand," Torres said. Chen was intrigued. "What kind of message?" "Psychological warfare. We've been hitting them for weeks without them knowing who we are, or what we want. Maybe it's time to introduce ourselves." When the alien convoy entered the asteroid field, they found what appeared to be a normal collection of space rocks. Their sensors detected no threats, no hidden ships, no weapons. The Zephyrians proceeded along their planned route with confidence. They were halfway through the field when the first charges detonated. Asteroids exploded in sequence, creating a cascade of destruction that tore through the convoy. The cargo ships, unarmored and slow, were shredded by flying rock fragments. One escort ship tried to turn away, but flew directly into another blast zone. In minutes, the entire convoy was destroyed. As the explosions faded, Torres activated the alien communication system. His voice, translated into Zephyrian language, echoed across space. "This is Commander Sarah Chen of the United Earth ship Nightborne. You murdered 50,000 civilians at Kepler Station. We are here to collect payment for that debt." The surviving escort ship's response came quickly, in accented but understandable English. "Human vessel, you cannot hide forever. The hegemony will find you and destroy you." Chen smiled grimly and took the microphone. "Good. We're tired of chasing you all over the galaxy. But next time you come looking for us, remember this. We don't fight fair, we don't follow your rules, and we never give up. Sleep well." The Nightborne vanished back into the asteroid field, leaving the alien escort to report another impossible human victory. Over the following days, Chen's psychological warfare campaign intensified. They left messages carved into asteroid surfaces, using ships' lasers. They attached transponders to destroyed alien ships that broadcast warnings in Zephyrian language. They even hacked into alien communication networks to send anonymous threats. The messages were always the same. Remember Kepler Station. Remember the price of murdering innocents. The effects were immediate. Alien convoy routes changed daily. Ships traveled in larger groups with heavier escorts. Some alien crews began requesting transfers away from human space. "It's working," Torres reported after intercepting alien communications. "Their command structure is showing signs of stress. Some ship commanders are questioning the invasion plans." But Chen knew they were walking a tightrope. Each attack brought retaliation, attempts. The aliens were dedicating more ships to hunting the Nightborne. Sooner or later, their luck would run out. The break came when Torres intercepted a high-priority alien transmission. "Commander, you need to hear this," he said, his face pale. "The Zephyrians are sending a message to their homeworld. They're requesting immediate reinforcements for the Earth invasion." Chen felt ice in her stomach. "How many ships?" 300 additional vessels. The message says, human resistance is stronger than expected, and they need overwhelming force to guarantee success. The war room fell silent. 300 ships added to the invasion fleet would make Earth's defense impossible. Every human orbital platform, every defense station, every ship in the solar system wouldn't be enough. "When do the reinforcements arrive?" Chen asked quietly. Torres checked his translation. 6 days. The fleet is already en route from Zephyrian space. Chen stared at the holographic display showing alien ship positions. Somewhere out there, 300 warships were racing toward Earth. Her small crew had fought bravely, but they were just 26 people against an empire. "Ma'am," Martinez spoke up. "There might be a way to stop the reinforcements." Chen turned to him. "Explain." "The message gives the exact route the reinforcement fleet is taking. They're coming through the Proxima Centauri system to refuel before the final jump to Earth." Chen studied the star charts. Proxima Centauri was a red dwarf star with an unstable solar wind. Ships had to be careful when operating there, especially during refueling operations. "What are you thinking, Martinez?" "The same thing you taught us, ma'am. We changed the rules. Instead of fighting the ships, we fight the star itself." The plan that emerged was the most dangerous thing Chen had ever considered. They would use the Nightborne's modified mining charges to destabilize Proxima Centauri's stellar activity. If they could trigger a massive solar flare at the right moment, the radiation would disable every ship in the system, Martinez explained. It wouldn't destroy them, but they'd be dead in space for days, maybe weeks. Roberts shook his head. "Sarah, that's not warfare. That's playing with cosmic forces we don't understand." Chen looked around at her crew. They were exhausted, running, low on supplies and facing impossible odds. But they were also the only thing standing between Earth and an invasion fleet. "Chief Kowalski, can the charges create enough disruption in the star's magnetic field?" The engineer ran calculations on his console. "Maybe, Commander. We'd have to place them very precisely in the star's corona. The radiation alone would probably kill us." "What about the ship's shielding? It might protect us for a few minutes. But ma'am, once we trigger those flares, every ship in the system becomes a target, including us." Chen nodded. She had expected as much. "How long do we have before the alien fleet arrives at Proxima?" 18 hours, Torres reported. Chen made her decision. "Set course for Proxima Centauri. All hands, prepare for solar operations. As the Nightborne accelerated toward the red dwarf star, Chen composed a message for Earth. It would be transmitted on a delayed beacon, reaching home only after their mission was complete. Admiral Reed, this is Commander Chen reporting. We have confirmed that a Zephyrian reinforcement fleet of 300 ships is en route to Earth. We are attempting to disable this fleet before it reaches the solar system. If we succeed, Earth will have a fighting chance. If we fail, well, we tried our best. She paused, thinking of her crew, her ship, and the choice they had made. The aliens think they can terrorize humanity into submission. They believe we'll break under pressure and surrender when faced with superior numbers. They're wrong. Humans don't break. We adapt, we improvise, and we never stop fighting. Remember Kepler Station. Remember what we're fighting for. The message. Beacon launched as the Nightborne approached Proxima Centauri. The red dwarf star loomed ahead, its surface crackling with magnetic storms and solar flares. Somewhere beyond it, 300 alien warships were racing toward Earth. Chen looked at her crew one last time. Everyone ready? 26 voices answered as one. Ready, Commander. Then let's go teach these aliens what happens when they threaten our home. The UES Nightborne dove toward the burning heart of Proxima Centauri, carrying with her the hopes of humanity and the promise that sometimes the smallest ships could cast the longest shadows. The UES Nightborne shuddered as she entered Proxima Centauri's outer atmosphere. The red dwarf star's corona crackled around the ship, sending waves of radiation against her shields. Commander Sarah Chen gripped her chair as the bridge displays flickered and sparked. Shield strength at 60% and falling, reported Chief Kowalski from engineering. Hull temperature is climbing fast. Chen watched the main display, where Proxima Centauri's surface boiled with magnetic storms. Solar flares erupted constantly, sending streams of charged particles racing into space. It was like flying into the mouth of a dragon. Time until the alien fleet arrives? Chen asked. Lieutenant Torres checked his calculations, fighting to keep his instruments stable in the electromagnetic chaos. 4 hours, Commander. They'll drop out of hyperspace at the edge of the system and approach the star for refueling. Chen nodded. 4 hours to plant their charges and get into position. 4 hours to turn a star into a weapon. Martinez, how are the targeting calculations? Tactical Officer Martinez worked frantically at his console, running simulations over and over. The star's magnetic field is incredibly complex, ma'am. We need to place the charges at exact points to create a resonance cascade. The plan was theoretical at best. By detonating modified mining charges at specific points in the star's corona, they hoped to destabilize the magnetic field enough to trigger massive solar flares. The radiation from those flares would disable every electronic system within millions of kilometers. Commander, we're approaching the first deployment point, announced Navigator Williams. Chen looked at the display showing their target. A swirling vortex of superheated plasma where magnetic field lines twisted together. The temperature outside was over 2 million degrees. Even with their shields, the Nightborne could only survive minutes in this environment. Deploy Charge 1, Chen ordered. Chief Kowalski triggered the release mechanism. A modified mining charge, wrapped in extra shielding and equipped with a quantum transmitter, drifted away from the ship. It would sink deeper into the corona until it reached the optimal detonation point. Charge 1 away, Kowalski reported. Signal strength is good. The Nightborne moved to the next position, racing against time and the star's deadly embrace. Their shields were failing faster than expected. The red dwarf's radiation was different from anything in their databases, more intense and chaotic. Shield strength at 30%, Kowalski warned. We're taking hull damage. Chen could feel the heat seeping through the bulkheads. The air itself seemed to glow with an orange tint. But they had 7 more charges to place, and the alien fleet was getting closer. Deploy Charge 2, she ordered. One by one, the charges were planted throughout Proxima Centauri's corona. Each placement brought them deeper into the star's deadly atmosphere. By the time they deployed the eighth and final charge, the Nightborne's shields were at 5% and failing. "Get us out of here!" Chen commanded. The ship's engines roared as they climbed away from the star's surface. Behind them, 8 quantum beacons marked the positions of their charges, ready to detonate on command. "Shield failure in 30 seconds, Kowalski announced. Williams pushed the engines beyond their safety limits. The Nightborne clawed her way out of the corona, her hull glowing cherry red from the intense heat. Alarms wailed throughout the ship as systems overloaded and failed. They cleared the star's atmosphere with seconds to spare. The ship drifted in space, her crew breathing hard and checking for damage. "Hull integrity holding," came the damage. Report. "Multiple system failures. But we're alive." Chen allowed herself a moment of relief. Now came the waiting. 2 hours later, space twisted at the edge of the system. The Zephyrian reinforcement fleet materialized in perfect formation. 300 warships of various sizes, from nimble destroyers to massive dreadnoughts. Their dark hulls gleamed in the red light of Proxima Centauri. "My God," Roberts whispered. "Look at them all." The alien fleet was a sight to inspire terror. Each ship was a masterpiece of destructive engineering, bristling with weapons that could level cities. Together they represented enough firepower to burn Earth to a cinder. Chen studied the tactical display as the alien fleet approached the star. Their formation was perfect, their movements coordinated. They showed no fear, no hesitation. To them, this was just another routine refueling stop before their final assault on humanity. "They're beginning refueling operations," Martinez reported. "All ships are connecting to the stellar collection arrays." This was the moment Chen had been waiting for. The alien ships were locked in place, drawing fuel directly from the star's plasma streams. Their shields were configured for radiation protection, not combat. They were vulnerable. "Torres, open a channel to the alien fleet," Chen ordered. "Ma'am, they'll detect us the moment we transmit. I'm counting on it." The communication channel crackled to life. Chen's voice echoed across space, translated into Zephyrian by Torres's improvised system. "Attention, Zephyrian fleet. This is Commander Sarah Chen of the United Earth ship Nightborne. You are fueling at a star rigged with explosive charges. Withdraw immediately, or face the consequences." The response came quickly, transmitted from the fleet's flagship. The voice was cold and mechanical, typical of Zephyrian commanders. "Human vessel, you lie. No ship can survive in a star's corona long enough to plant such devices. Surrender now and your death will be swift." Chen smiled grimly. "You want proof? Watch and learn." She nodded to Martinez, who activated the first charge. Deep in Proxima, Centauri's corona, the modified mining charge detonated. The explosion was tiny compared to the star's massive energy output, but it was precisely placed. The blast disrupted a key magnetic field line, creating a cascade effect. The star's surface erupted. A massive solar flare burst from Proxima Centauri, racing outward at a significant fraction of light speed. The stream of charged particles and radiation spread like a cosmic tsunami, heading directly for the refueling alien fleet. "All charges detonate now," Chen commanded. 7 more explosions rippled through the star's corona. Each one triggered additional flares until Proxima Centauri looked like an angry god hurling spears of fire into space. The alien fleet tried to react. Ships began disconnecting from their refueling lines and powering up their engines. But they were too late. The first solar flare struck the Zephyrian formation like the hammer of heaven. Ships that had been glowing with power went dark instantly. Their shields collapsed, their weapons failed, their engines died. One by one, 300 warships became lifeless hulks drifting in space. Chen watched the destruction with grim satisfaction. The alien reinforcement fleet was neutralized. Earth would have its fighting chance. But the Nightborne wasn't safe either. The same radiation that disabled the alien ships was racing toward them. "Emergency power to shields," Chen ordered. "All hands, brace for impact." The solar storm hit, the Nightborne like a physical blow. The ship tumbled end over end as radiation overloaded her systems. The lights went out, artificial gravity failed, and the air recyclers stopped working. In the darkness of the bridge, Chen could hear her crew struggling to restore power. Emergency lights flickered on, casting eerie shadows on damaged consoles. "Damage report," Chen called out. "Main power is down," Kowalski reported from somewhere in the darkness. "Backup systems are failing one by one. We've got maybe 6 hours of life support left." Chen felt around for her command chair and pulled herself into it. They had done it. 300 alien warships were dead in space, unable to continue their mission to Earth. But the victory had come at a cost. "Can we signal Earth?" Chen asked. Torres was working by flashlight at his console. "No, ma'am. The communications array is fried. We're cut off." Chen nodded. She had expected as much. The solar flares that disabled the alien fleet would have the same effect on human ships. But that was acceptable. Earth's defenses would recover long before the aliens could. Repair their fleet. "Commander," Martinez called out, "I'm reading something strange on passive sensors." "What kind of strange?" "One of the alien ships is still active. It's moving toward us." Chen felt her blood chill. If even one Zephyrian ship had survived, the solar storm. "How is that possible?" "Unknown, ma'am, but it's definitely under power and heading our way." Chen made a decision. The Nightborne was crippled, her weapons offline, her shields down, but she still had one weapon left, herself. "Chief Kowalski, can you get me ramming speed?" "Ma'am, the engines are dead. We're running on emergency thrusters only." Chen studied the tactical display, calculating vectors and velocities. The alien ship was approaching slowly, probably as damaged as they were. If she could time it right. "All hands prepare for collision. We're going to ram them!" Roberts grabbed her arm. "Sarah, that's suicide. Even if we destroy them, we'll be killed in the impact." Chen looked at her friend and first officer. "Marcus, that alien ship is the only survivor of a 300 ship invasion fleet. If it escapes, it can warn the hegemony about our tactics. Earth loses its advantage." She turned to address her crew. "Everyone listen. We've done something impossible today. We turned a star into a weapon and stopped an entire invasion fleet. But our job isn't finished yet." The alien ship loomed larger on their screens. It was a destroyer, similar in size to the Nightborne. Its hull was blackened and scarred from the solar storm, but it was definitely functional. "Ma'am," Torres reported, "the alien ship is transmitting to us." "Put it through." The Zephyrian commander's voice filled the bridge. When translated, his words were cold and bitter. "Human vessel, you have committed an act of cosmic terrorism. You have weaponized a star itself. This will not be forgotten." Chen took the microphone. "Good. Remember this moment. Remember what happens when you threaten Earth. You came here to destroy my people, and instead you found only death in the fire of a star. Your ship is crippled, human. You cannot escape." Chen smiled in the darkness of her bridge. "Who said anything about escaping?" She nodded to Kowalski, who triggered the emergency thrusters. The Nightborne lurched forward, accelerating toward the alien destroyer on a collision course. The Zephyrian ship tried to turn away, but it was too slow. Solar radiation had damaged its maneuvering systems. The two ships rushed toward each other like ancient knights charging with lances. "All hands, brace for impact," Chen announced. "It's been an honor serving with you all." The UES Nightborne struck the alien destroyer amidships at over 1,000 meters per second. Both ships crumpled like tin cans, their hulls tearing apart in a shower of sparks and debris. The fusion reactors on both vessels went critical simultaneously. The explosion lit up Proxima Centauri's star system like a second sun. When the light faded, nothing remained but cooling wreckage and the memory of 26 humans who had changed the course of a war. In the distance, 300 alien warships drifted powerless in space, their crews slowly working to repair systems damaged by humanity's most desperate gambit. The reinforcement fleet would never reach Earth. And somewhere in the cosmic dark, the story of the UES Nightborne began its journey home, carried by the light of an angry star and the sacrifice of a crew that refused to surrender. Admiral Marcus Reed stood in the war room of Luna Command, staring at the holographic display that showed Earth's defensive positions. 3 months had passed since the battle at Proxima Centauri, and the solar system buzzed with preparation for war. "Admiral, incoming priority transmission from the outer sensor grid," announced Communications Officer Park. Reed turned from the display. "Put it through." The message was garbled and weak, transmitted from a probe near the edge of the system. But the words were clear enough to send chills down Reed's spine. "This is Automated Beacon 77 Alpha, detecting massive hyperspace signatures approaching the solar system. Count is... Jesus. Over 400 ships. Repeat, 400 alien vessels inbound, estimated arrival in 6 hours. Reed felt the weight of command settle on his shoulders. The Zephyrian invasion fleet had finally arrived. Without the reinforcements destroyed at Proxima Centauri, they had been forced to gather ships from across their empire. Now they came in overwhelming force. "General quarters throughout the system," Reed ordered. "All ships to battle stations. Activate the Mars defense grid and the asteroid belt platforms." Earth's defenses were impressive by human standards. Orbital battle stations ringed the planet, armed with plasma cannons and missile arrays. The asteroid belt had been turned into a fortress, with weapons platforms hidden among the rocks. Mars hosted a fleet of fast attack ships, ready to strike at enemy flanks, but against 400 alien warships, it might not be enough. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the alien fleet," Park reported. Reed straightened his uniform. "Put it on the main screen." The holographic display flickered, then showed the bridge of a massive Zephyrian dreadnought. The alien commander was tall and thin, with pale blue skin and dark eyes that seemed to hold the cold of space itself. "I am Fleet Commander Zalthar of the Hegemony 4th Battle Fleet," the alien said in perfect English. "You will surrender your planet immediately. Resistance will result in complete extermination." Reed stepped forward, his voice steady despite the fear in his gut. "This is Admiral Marcus Reed, commanding the Solar Defense Force. Earth does not surrender. If you want our world, you'll have to take it." Zalthar's expression didn't change. "Your species has proven troublesome. The destruction of our refueling depot and the loss of the reinforcement fleet will not go unpunished. We will glass your planet and scatter your atoms across space." "You're welcome to try," Reed replied. "But you might want to ask the crews at Kepler Station how that worked out for them." "Oh, wait. You can't. They're all dead." For the first time, emotion flickered across the alien commander's face. "Anger, cold and terrible. You will learn the price of defying the hegemony," Zalthar said. The transmission cut to static. Reed turned to his staff. "All ships, prepare for battle. Remember, we're not just fighting for Earth. We're fighting for every human colony, every space station, every child who dreams of seeing the stars. Make them count." The Zephyrian fleet dropped out of hyperspace like a plague of locusts. 400 ships spread across the outer solar system, their dark hulls blotting out the stars. They moved with purpose, heading directly for Earth, but they had underestimated human ingenuity. "Admiral, the enemy fleet is approaching the asteroid belt," reported the tactical officer. Reed smiled grimly. "Good. Spring the trap." Throughout the asteroid belt, weapons platforms that had been disguised as mining stations suddenly came to life. Hundreds of missile launchers, plasma cannons, and rail guns opened fire simultaneously. The space between Mars and Jupiter lit up with weapons fire. The Zephyrian fleet, expecting minimal resistance in the outer system, found themselves in a killing field. Several ships exploded immediately, caught off guard by the intensity of human firepower. But the aliens adapted quickly. Their return fire was devastating, turning asteroid bases into clouds of glowing vapor. The initial surprise only lasted minutes before Zephyrian discipline reasserted itself. First wave defensive positions are taking heavy casualties, reported the tactical officer. But we're giving better than we're getting. Reed nodded. The asteroid belt defenses had been designed as a delaying action, not a battle winner. Their job was to thin out the alien fleet and force them to reveal their tactics. Sir, the Mars. Defense fleet is requesting permission to engage, came another report. Granted. Tell Admiral Chen to hit them hard and fast. Sarah Chen's older sister, Admiral Lisa Chen, commanded the Mars Defense Fleet. Like her sister, she believed in aggressive tactics and hitting the enemy where they didn't expect it. 50 human destroyers and cruisers erupted from hidden positions around Mars. They used the planet's gravity well to slingshot themselves at incredible speeds toward the alien fleet's flank. The maneuver was dangerous and required split-second timing, but it worked. The human ships struck the Zephyrian formation like a hammer blow. Their weapons, designed for close-range fighting, tore into alien hulls at point-blank range. Several Zephyrian dreadnoughts found themselves under attack from multiple directions, their shields overloaded by concentrated fire. But the victory was short-lived. The alien fleet's superior numbers began to tell. Human ships, brave as they were, couldn't match Zephyrian firepower ship for ship. One by one, the Mars fleet began to fall back toward Earth. Admiral, the alien fleet is breaking through our outer defenses, the tactical officer reported. They'll be in Earth orbit in 3 hours. Reed studied the battle display. The human forces had fought magnificently, destroying over 60 alien ships. But there were still more than 300 Zephyrian vessels heading for Earth. Activate the lunar defense grid, Reed ordered. All orbital platforms to full alert, and send the recall signal to the Deep Space Patrol. Throughout the outer system, human ships began falling back toward Earth. They fought a running battle using hit-and-run tactics learned from studying the Nightborne's final reports. The aliens pursued, but cautiously now. They had learned to respect human unpredictability. As the fleets approached Earth, the planet's defenses came fully online. Orbital platforms bristled with weapons, their guns tracking the incoming alien ships. The moon's hidden missile silos opened, revealing launch tubes that could fire projectiles at significant fractions of light speed. But the real surprise came from an unexpected source. Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the outer system, Park announced, excitement in his voice. It's not from our ships. Put it through. The main screen showed a collection of alien vessels, but not Zephyrian. These ships were sleek and graceful, with hulls that seemed to shimmer like water. Greetings, humans of Earth, came the transmission. The voice was melodious, almost musical. I am Commander Lyra of the Aquatic Confederation. We have come to offer assistance in your fight against the hegemony. Reed stared at the screen. You're not Zephyrian. Indeed not. The hegemony has oppressed our people for centuries. When word spread of your resistance, our council voted to intervene. The galaxy watches to see if tyranny can be defeated. More ships appeared on the sensors, dozens of different designs representing species Reed had never heard of, all of them moving toward Earth. How many ships? Reed asked quietly. 147 vessels from 12 different species, came the reply. All volunteers, all committed to ending hegemony expansion. Reed felt hope surge in his chest. Humanity wasn't alone after all. The final battle began as the combined fleets met in Earth orbit. Zephyrian dreadnoughts traded fire with alien allies, while human ships darted between the giants like wolves among bears. The space around Earth became a maelstrom of energy beams, explosions, and debris. Fleet Commander Zalthar watched from his flagship as his seemingly certain victory slipped away. The humans had allies, species he thought were cowed into submission. Worse, the human tactics were spreading. Allied ships began using the same unpredictable maneuvers that had made the Nightborne so dangerous. "Sir, we are receiving a priority transmission from Hegemony Command," his communications officer reported. Zalthar activated the channel, expecting reinforcements or new orders. Instead, he heard chaos. "All fleet commanders, this is Hegemony Central Command. We are under attack on multiple fronts. The Aquatic Confederation has launched a general uprising. The Crystalline Collective has declared independence. Fleet movements are being disrupted throughout the Empire. All invasion forces are ordered to return to defend hegemony space immediately." Zalthar stared at the message in disbelief. The human resistance had sparked something bigger. Across the galaxy, oppressed species were rising up against their hegemony overlords. "Sir, what are your orders?" his tactical officer asked. Zalthar looked at the battle raging around Earth. His fleet was being torn apart by the combined human-alien alliance. Even if he won here, he would return to find his empire in flames. "Signal the fleet," he said finally. "We withdraw." Order rippled through the Zephyrian fleet. One by one, the alien ships began to disengage from combat. They formed up in retreat formation and activated their hyperspace drives, but Admiral Reed wasn't finished with them. "All ships pursue and harass," he ordered. "Don't let them leave in good order." Human and allied vessels chased the retreating Zephyrians to the edge of the solar system, striking at stragglers and damaged ships. By the time the alien fleet escaped into hyperspace, fewer than 200 vessels remained. In the aftermath, Earth orbit was filled with celebration. Human ships flew alongside alien allies, exchanging greetings and sharing stories of the battle. The Aquatic Confederation had brought not just military aid, but news from across the galaxy. "The Hegemony Empire is collapsing," Commander Lyra explained to Admiral Reed. "Your resistance at Kepler Station, the destruction of the reinforcement, fleet, and now this victory have inspired dozens of species to revolt. The galaxy is free." Reed thought of Commander Sarah Chen and the crew of the Nightborne. 26 people who had refused to accept defeat, who had turned their ship into a weapon and their courage into legend. "Commander Lyra, there's something you should know," Reed said. "The real heroes of this war aren't here to see the victory. They died fighting impossible odds at a star called Proxima Centauri." Lyra nodded solemnly. "Their story has already spread throughout the galaxy. The tale of the ship that turned a star into a weapon, that sacrificed itself to save its home. Many species now call it the greatest military action in galactic history." Reed smiled sadly. They would have laughed at that. They were just doing their job. As Earth began to rebuild and establish formal relations with its new allies, the main story of the UES Nightborne continued to spread. Human naval academies taught courses on asymmetric warfare based on Chen's tactics. Allied species studied human psychology to understand how 26 people could face down an empire. But perhaps the most fitting memorial came from an unexpected source. The Zephyrian survivors, scattered and defeated, carried with them a new word in their language, Shanri, meaning the courage to fight impossible odds. It was a word that would outlive empires and span the stars, a reminder that sometimes the smallest ships cast the longest shadows, and that those who fight for freedom never truly die. The war was over. The galaxy was free. And somewhere in the cosmic dark, the spirit of the UES Nightborne sailed on, carried by the light of distant stars and the eternal human refusal to surrender.
The old cargo ship Dreadnought drifted through the darkness of space, its metal hull showing years of patches and repairs. Red warning beacons blinked around it, sending a clear message to all nearby ships. Danger, keep distance. Captain Tom. Mason sat in his worn captain's chair, boots up on the control panel. He was a man with rough hands and a face that told stories of many space journeys. His eyes were closed, but he wasn't sleeping. Tom could feel every small movement of his ship. "Captain, we're getting a signal," said Rob, the young communications officer. His fingers moved quickly over the glowing screens. "Unknown ship approaching from Sector 7. Tom opened one eye. "Human or other?" "Definitely not human," Rob answered. "Design matches nothing in our database." The captain sighed and put his feet down. The dreadnought had been traveling peacefully for weeks, carrying mining equipment to the outer colonies. Now this. "Wake up the crew," Tom ordered, "and send out the warning message." In the distance, a shining vessel approached. Its smooth, curved hull was a stark contrast to the dreadnought's rough appearance. Inside the alien ship, Commander Block stood tall, his purple skin reflecting the blue light of the command center. "What is that primitive vessel?" Blocks asked, his translator converting his clicks and whistles into standard language. "Unknown, Commander," answered Officer Triz, studying her screens. "It appears to be sending some kind of warning signal." Blocks looked at the message flashing across their screens. "Dangerous ship. Do not approach. Unstable systems." He made a sound like laughter. "Primitive warning tactics. They hope to scare us away." Blocks turned to his crew of 10 officers. "The Stellar Confederation claims all abandoned or distressed vessels. This ship looks perfect for study." "But Commander," Triz said carefully, "the ship is not abandoned. We detect life forms." "Irrelevant," Blocks replied. "Look at it. Such a primitive vessel clearly belongs to a species that has not yet reached proper space classification. We have a duty to bring it under Confederation control." Back on the dreadnought, the crew gathered in the control room. There were only 6 of them: Tom, Rob, Engineer Jack, Security Officer Lisa, Navigator Ben, and Dr. Meg. They had worked together for years and knew the dreadnought better than anyone. "That ship is not responding to our warnings," Tom said, watching the alien vessel grow larger on the screen. Jack, an older man with grease-stained hands, shook his head. "They don't understand what they're dealing with." "Should we run?" Ben asked, already plotting possible escape routes. Tom looked at his crew, then at the worn walls of his ship. The dreadnought wasn't just a ship to them, it was home, and it had its own way of handling trouble. "No," Tom decided. "We stay. The ship stays. Send the warning one more time." On the alien vessel, Blocks ignored the repeated warnings. "Prepare the boarding party. We will claim this vessel under Confederation salvage law." "Commander," Triz tried again, "those warning signals might be important. Our records show that humans mark certain ships as dangerous for specific reasons. Are you suggesting these humans know something we don't?" Blocks asked, his skin darkening with irritation. "The Confederation has explored thousands of worlds. We have encountered hundreds of species. What could these humans possibly know that would concern us?" Triz looked down at her screens. "I'm just suggesting caution, Commander. Your concern is noted," Block said dismissively. "Now prepare the boarding team." The alien ship moved closer, extending a docking tube toward the dreadnought. Tom and his crew watched on their screens. "They're really going to do it," Lisa said, checking her weapon. "Should I prepare for defense?" Tom raised his hand. "Not yet. Let's see what they want first." Jack looked up from his engineering panel. "Tom, the ship is getting restless." Everyone on the crew knew what that meant. The dreadnought wasn't like other ships. Years of repairs with experimental technology had given it certain quirks. Some systems acted almost with a mind of their own. "Easy, old girl," Tom whispered, patting the control panel. "Let's not overreact." The boarding tube connected with a loud clang. Moments later, 5 alien figures in sleek spacesuits entered the dreadnought's main airlock. "Interesting design," said one alien, scanning the walls with a small device. "Very inefficient." Commander Blocks led the group. "Find the control room. We need to secure this vessel quickly." As they moved through the corridor, the lights suddenly dimmed. The aliens activated their helmet lights. Poor maintenance, Blocks commented. Pitiful. The boarding party reached a junction where the corridor split in 3 directions. Strange layout, one alien noted. No logical design. Blocks checked his scanner. Life forms are this way, he said, pointing to the left. Corridor. The aliens moved forward, but after walking for several minutes they found themselves back at the same junction. Impossible, Blocks said, checking his scanner again. We should have reached the control room. Commander, one alien said nervously. The corridor we just came through and it's different now. They turned to see that the corridor behind them had indeed changed. The walls looked different, and the doors were in new positions. Some kind of holographic trickery, Blocks decided. These humans are more clever than they appear. Meanwhile, in the control room, Tom's crew watched the confused aliens on their screens. The ship doesn't like visitors, Jack said with a small smile. Should we talk to them? Rob asked. Explain the situation? Tom considered this. Open a channel. The aliens jumped when Tom's voice came through their helmet speakers. This is Captain Tom Mason of the cargo vessel Dreadnought. You are aboard a dangerous ship without permission. I suggest you return to your vessel immediately. Blocks's pride wouldn't allow retreat. This is Commander Blocks of the Stellar Confederation. Your primitive vessel falls under our salvage jurisdiction. Surrender your control room. Tom sighed. That's not how this works, Commander. The Dreadnought is classified as dangerous for a reason. It's not just a name. As if to prove his point, the gravity in the corridor suddenly reversed. The alien boarding party floated upward, crashing into the ceiling. What is happening? Blocks demanded, trying to activate his magnetic boots. The ship happens, Tom replied simply. Last warning, leave now. The gravity returned to normal, dropping the aliens roughly to the floor. Blocks got to his feet. His pride hurt worse than his body. This is not over, he promised. The Confederation will have this vessel. Your choice, Tom said as the communication ended. The aliens retreated to their ship, their neat appearance now disheveled. As they disconnected the boarding tube, Blocks stared at the crude human vessel. Mark my words, he said to his crew. That ship will be ours. No primitive humans can resist the might of the Stellar Confederation. Little did he know, it wasn't just the humans he needed to worry about. The Dreadnought itself had already decided it didn't like these new visitors, and the Dreadnought always got its way. Commander Blocks stood before the large screen, his purple skin now a deep shade of anger. 3 high-ranking Confederation officials looked back at him from the screen, their expressions serious. You retreated from a primitive vessel? Asked the center official, Admiral Vril. He was older than Blocks, with gray skin and cold eyes. It was a tactical withdrawal, Blocks explained. The human ship has unusual defenses. I need more resources to secure it properly. Admiral Vril looked at the images of the Dreadnought. This rusted bucket? What possible value could it have? The humans have technology that can alter the physical structure of the ship, Blocks said, and they've classified it as dangerous in their system. This caught Vril's attention. Dangerous? Interesting. Perhaps there is something valuable aboard after all. He turned to his colleagues. I will handle this personally. Commander Blocks, hold your position until my fleet arrives. As the communication ended, Blocks smiled. Soon the primitive humans would learn the true power of the Stellar Confederation. On Earth, in the United Space Command headquarters, General Ward looked at the report from the Dreadnought with growing concern. The Dreadnought encountered aliens? She asked the young officer before her. Yes, General. Captain Mason reports they tried to board under some kind of salvage claim. The general sighed. Of all the ships they could have picked, they chose a Class D dangerous vessel. She shook her head. We need to establish communication with these aliens immediately. Explain our classification system before this gets worse. We're trying, General, but they're not responding to standard diplomatic channels. General Ward stood and walked to the large window overlooking the busy spaceport. Then send the message directly to Captain Mason. He needs to explain to these aliens exactly what they're dealing with. Back on the Dreadnought, Tom gathered his crew around the small dining table. Jack was tinkering with a small device as he listened. "We've got a message from command," Tom said. "The aliens that tried to board us are from something called the Stellar Confederation. Apparently they're a big deal out here." "And they want our ship?" asked Lisa, cleaning her weapon. "They think dangerous means armed and valuable," Tom explained. "They don't understand our system." Engineer Jack looked up from his device. "Did you tell them about the ship's personality?" "I tried," Tom said. "They didn't listen." The Dreadnought's personality was well known among human space travelers. Years ago, the ship had been part of an experimental program using adaptive systems. Most ships in the program were decommissioned when they began to show signs of unpredictable behavior. But the Dreadnought had been different. Its quirks were manageable with the right crew. "Command wants us to try explaining the dangerous ship classification again," Tom continued. "Make them understand why they should keep their distance." Rob, who was monitoring communication, suddenly straightened in his chair. "Captain, multiple ships just appeared on long-range scanners. Big ones." Tom moved quickly to the control room, the others following. On the main screen, they could see 5 large alien vessels approaching. "Well," Tom said quietly, "looks like they brought friends." Admiral Vril stood proudly on the bridge of his flagship, the Conqueror. 4 battlecruisers followed behind, forming an impressive fleet. "Commander Blocks, report," Vril ordered as his ship approached the Dreadnought. Blocks appeared on screen. "Admiral, the human vessel remains in position. They have made no attempt to flee." "Of course not," Vril said with confidence. "They know resistance is pointless." Officer Triz spoke up from her station. "Admiral, we're receiving a message from the human ship." "Put it through," Vril ordered, curious what the humans would say. Tom's face appeared on the screen. He looked calm despite the 5 warships facing his small cargo vessel. "This is Captain Tom Mason of the Dreadnought. I need to explain something important about our ship." Vril smiled coldly. "This is Admiral Vril of the Stellar Confederation. You will surrender your vessel for inspection." Tom shook his head. "Admiral, you're not understanding. The Dreadnought is classified as a dangerous ship. This isn't a threat. It's a warning for your safety." "A touching concern," Vril said, "but unnecessary. Your primitive warnings do not frighten us." "It's not about fear," Tom tried again. "In human space, ships are classified based on their stability. Class A ships are normal. Class B have minor quirks. Class C need special handling. Class D ships like the Dreadnought have developed, let's call them, unique properties." Vril's patience was wearing thin. "Enough stalling. What valuable technology? Are you hiding?" Tom sighed. "We're not hiding technology. The ship itself is the issue. It's semi-sentient and highly unpredictable. Even to us." This made Vril pause. "You claim your vessel is alive?" "Not exactly alive," Tom explained, "but not entirely mechanical either. The Dreadnought has developed its own patterns and behaviors. Over time, it reacts to threats in ways we can't always predict." Vril looked at his officers, who seemed uncertain. Then he laughed. "A clever story, human, but the Confederation has encountered many species with many excuses." He turned to his tactical officer. "Prepare boarding parties, 3 teams heavily armed." "Admiral," Triz said quietly, "what if the human is telling the truth? Perhaps we should investigate these claims before—" "Are you questioning my orders?" Vril snapped. Triz lowered her eyes. "No, Admiral." Tom's voice came through again. "Admiral, I strongly advise against this action. The Dreadnought doesn't respond well to threats." "Your concern is noted," Vril said, using the same dismissive tone Blocks had used earlier. "But this vessel will be under Confederation control within the hour." As the communication ended, Tom turned to his crew. "Well, we tried." "What now, Captain?" asked Ben. Tom looked around at the worn walls of the control room. "Now we let the Dreadnought decide how to handle our visitors." Engineer Jack frowned. "The ship has been getting more aware lately. This could get ugly." "I know," Tom said, but they've made their choice. On the Conqueror, Admiral Vril watched as his boarding shuttles approached the dreadnought. Unlike Blox's small team, Vril had sent 30 soldiers in 3 groups. Boarding teams report they're approaching the airlocks, reported the tactical officer. Vril smiled. Excellent. Soon we'll discover what secrets this dangerous ship holds. Officer Triz monitored her screens carefully. Something about the human captain's warning had troubled her. He hadn't seemed scared or defensive. He had seemed concerned for them. Admiral, she said suddenly, I'm detecting unusual energy fluctuations from the human vessel. Vril waved his hand dismissively. Likely just their attempts to resist boarding. Triz wasn't convinced. The patterns are strange, not like weapons or shields. On her screen, the dreadnought seemed to shimmer slightly, as if the metal itself was somehow shifting. First team has docked and is entering the airlock, announced the tactical officer. Vril leaned forward in his chair, eager to see what his soldiers would find. The Confederation would add another ship to its collection, and if the humans resisted, they would learn the price of defiance. What Vril didn't realize was that the real challenge wasn't the human crew at all. It was the ship itself, and it was just getting started. The first team of alien soldiers moved carefully through the dreadnought's main airlock. There were 10 of them, each carrying advanced weapons and scanning devices. Their leader, Officer Cragg, had been specially chosen by Admiral Vril for this mission. Stay alert, Cragg told his team. The humans may have traps. The airlock door closed behind them with a heavy thud. The aliens looked around at the old metal walls and dim lighting. Primitive design, one soldier commented, running a scanner over the wall. Their technology is at least 100 years behind ours. Cragg checked his map device. Control room should be 2 levels up. Team 2 will secure the engine room. Team 3 will find the crew. The aliens moved forward, their boots making metallic sounds on the floor. They reached a junction where the corridor split into 3 paths. According to Commander Blox's report, this is where they encountered some kind of illusion technology. Cragg said, "Be prepared for tricks." As if on cue, the lights in the corridor suddenly brightened, then dimmed again. The aliens raised their weapons. "Just poor power systems," Cragg said, though he didn't sound convinced. They took the left path, which should lead to a stairway up to the control room. After walking for about a minute, they found themselves facing a solid wall. "This doesn't match our scans," said one confused soldier. Cragg touched his communication device. "Team 2, Team 3 report positions." "Team 2 here," came the reply. "We're trying to reach the engine room, but the corridors keep changing." "Team 3, we've found what looks like crew quarters, but no humans." Cragg frowned. "Stay on. Mission. The humans must be using some kind of holographic technology to confuse us." Just then, a voice came from nowhere and everywhere at once. It was Tom. "I tried to warn you," he said calmly. "The dreadnought doesn't like uninvited guests." Cragg pointed his weapon at the ceiling. "Show yourself, human." "I'm in the control room," Tom replied, "but that's not important right now. What's important is that you understand what's happening. The ship is responding to what it sees as a threat." As if to prove his point, the floor beneath the aliens suddenly tilted sharply. 3 soldiers lost their balance and slid down the now sloping corridor. "What is this?" Cragg demanded, holding onto a pipe on the wall. "That's the dreadnought," Tom explained. "It can modify its internal structure. Not everywhere and not all the time, but enough to be problematic for invaders." The floor leveled out again, but now the corridor looked completely different. The 3 paths had become 2, and the wall colors had changed. In the control room, Tom and his crew watched the confused aliens on their screens. Jack was at his engineering station, his hands moving quickly over the controls. "The ship's getting creative," Jack said with a hint of worry. "I've never seen it change configurations this fast before." "Can you control it?" Tom asked. Jack shook his head. "You know I can't. Not when it's like this. I'm just trying to make sure life support stays stable." On another screen, they could see Team 2 having their own problems. The engine room door kept moving. Every time they approached it, the door would appear 10 feet further down the corridor. Team 3 had found themselves in a section where gravity seemed to work differently, in different spots. One soldier was walking on the ceiling while another was stuck to a wall. "Should we help them?" asked Dr. Meg, who had been quiet until now. Tom considered this. "They came here to take our ship by force, but I don't want anyone getting hurt." He activated the communication system again. "Admiral Vril, your teams are in danger. Call them back now." On the Conqueror, Admiral Vril watched with growing anger as his elite soldiers stumbled around like lost children. "This is some kind of trick," he insisted. "The humans must have advanced technology hidden in that rust bucket." Officer Triz studied her readings carefully. "Admiral, I'm detecting unusual energy patterns throughout the human ship. It's as if the internal structure really is changing." "Impossible," Vril snapped. "No ship can reconfigure itself that way." But the evidence on the screens was hard to ignore. "Team leaders report," Vril commanded. Craig's voice came through, sounding stressed. "Admiral, we're encountering difficulties. The ship's internal layout doesn't match our scans. Corridors change when we're not looking at them, and there are areas where gravity and even temperature seem to be controlled independently." "Push forward," Vril ordered. "Find the control center that manages these effects." "We're trying, Admiral, but—" Craig's voice cut off as a loud metallic groan came through the communication. On the screens, Vril watched as a section of wall suddenly folded inward, separating Craig from half his team. At the same time, Team 2 reported that they were now somehow back at the airlock they had entered through, despite walking away from it for 20 minutes. Team 3 was in the worst position. They had found what appeared to be a storage room, but the door had sealed behind them. Now the room was slowly filling with a thick fog. "It's not toxic," reported Team 3's leader. "Just some kind of mist, but we can't see anything." Back on the dreadnought, Engineer Jack looked concerned as he studied his monitors. "Tom," he said quietly, "the ship is starting to access systems it's never touched before. It's activating the old experimental drive." This was serious news. The dreadnought had been fitted with an experimental faster-than-light drive years ago. The drive had never worked properly, which was one reason the ship had been classified as dangerous. "Can you shut it down?" Tom asked. "I'm trying," Jack replied, his fingers flying over the controls. "But you know how it is. When the ship decides to do something—" Tom nodded grimly. The dreadnought had its own ways of handling things. That's why they needed a special crew, people who understood the ship's quirks and could work with them, rather than against them. "What will the drive do?" asked Lisa. Jack shook his head. "Hard to say. It never worked right. It could just make a lot of noise and light, or it could try to jump." "Jump where?" Rob asked nervously. "That's the problem," Jack said. "Could be anywhere." Tom made a decision. "Open a channel to Vril again, last warning." Admiral Vril was about to order a fourth team to board when Tom's face appeared on his screen again. "Admiral, you need to withdraw your people now," Tom said urgently. "The ship is activating its experimental drive." "More tricks?" Vril asked, though his confidence was wavering. "No tricks," Tom insisted. "The dreadnought has an unstable FTL drive. That's part of why it's classified as dangerous. When it activates, we don't know exactly what will happen." As if on cue, Officer Triz called out, "Admiral, energy readings from the human ship are off the charts. Something is powering up in their engine section." Vril hesitated. His teams were making no progress, and now this new development. "If that drive activates," Tom continued, "it could drag your ship with it. The dreadnought creates unusual space distortions when the drive runs." For the first time, Vril felt a flicker of doubt. What if the humans were telling the truth? What if this ship really was dangerous not because of weapons, but because it was unpredictable? Outside, the dreadnought began to glow with a strange blue light. The light pulsed slowly at first, then faster. "Admiral," Triz said urgently, "whatever is happening on that ship is affecting local space. Our sensors show distortions forming." Vril made his decision. Recall all boarding teams immediately. Prepare to move our ships to a safe distance. As the alien soldiers hurriedly retreated to their shuttles, the dreadnought's glow intensified. The experimental drive was waking, up after years of dormancy, and nobody, not even its crew, knew exactly what would happen next. The blue glow around the dreadnought grew brighter. Admiral Vril's fleet had moved back to what they hoped was a safe distance. The last boarding team had barely escaped before the strange energy field expanded. "What is happening to that ship?" Vril demanded, watching the screens from the safety of his command chair. Officer Triz studied her readings with growing concern. "The energy signature doesn't match anything in our database. It's creating some kind of bubble in space around itself." Vril's fleet watched as the dreadnought pulsed with energy. Then, just as suddenly as it started, the glow faded. The ship returned to its normal worn appearance. "Is it over?" Vril asked cautiously. Before Triz could answer, a new ship appeared near the dreadnought. This vessel was sleek and clearly of advanced design, though smaller than Vril's warships. It moved smoothly into position between the dreadnought and the alien fleet. "Admiral," Triz reported, "we're receiving a transmission from the new vessel." "Put it through," Vril ordered. A human face appeared on screen. The woman was older, with short gray hair and a formal uniform decorated with symbols of rank. "This is Diplomat Trill of the United Earth Space Command," she said in a calm voice. "I understand there has been a misunderstanding regarding one of our vessels." Vril straightened in his chair. "This is Admiral Vril of the Stellar Confederation. That vessel falls under our salvage rights." Trill smiled patiently. "Admiral, no human ship falls under Confederation salvage rights. We are not part of your Confederation, and we have our own laws regarding ship classifications and ownership." "The ship was demonstrating hostile actions," Vril insisted. "The ship was defending itself," Trill corrected. "As it was designed to do. I believe Captain Mason attempted to warn you about the nature of dangerous class vessels." Vril said nothing, his pride still stinging from the failed boarding attempts. Trill continued. "I propose a meeting to discuss this situation properly. Perhaps you would join me aboard the dreadnought itself. It would help you understand what you're dealing with." "You expect me to board that unpredictable vessel?" Vril asked in disbelief. "It's perfectly safe when approached correctly," Trill assured him. "I will accompany you personally." After a moment of consideration, Vril nodded. "Very well. But I will bring guards." "One guard only," Trill countered. "Too many unfamiliar presences can upset the ship." Vril didn't like being dictated terms, but his curiosity about the strange vessel outweighed his pride. "Agreed." An hour later, Diplomat Trill escorted Vril and one guard onto the dreadnought. Tom met them at the airlock. "Captain Mason," Trill greeted him warmly. "Thank you for hosting this meeting." Tom nodded. "The ship has settled down. It should be fine now." Vril looked around suspiciously. The corridor looked ordinary, old and worn, but not threatening. "Your ship no longer changes its structure? It does what it needs to do when it needs to do it," Tom explained. "Right now it doesn't feel threatened." They walked to a small meeting room where the rest of the dreadnought's crew waited. Engineer Jack was still checking readings on a portable device. "Is the drive stable?" Tom asked him quietly. Jack nodded. "For now. It didn't fully activate, just powered up enough to send out a distress signal." He glanced at Vril. "The ship knew we needed help." Vril overheard this. "You speak as if this vessel is alive." "Not alive exactly," Jack said, "but not entirely mechanical either." Trill gestured for everyone to sit at the table. "Admiral, let me explain our ship classification system. It may help you understand why your approach was problematic." She activated a small projector that displayed a simple chart. "Humans classify our ships into categories based on predictability and stability. Class A ships are standard vessels that operate exactly as designed. Class B ships have minor quirks but follow standard protocols. Class C ships require specialized crews due to more significant anomalies." She pointed to the chart. Class D ships like the Dreadnought are what we call dangerous. Not because they're weapons, but because they're unpredictable even to their crews. Vril frowned. Why would anyone use such unreliable vessels? Because they have unique capabilities, Tom explained. The Dreadnought can adapt to situations in ways no standard ship can. It develops solutions we wouldn't think of. Jack added, years ago, this ship was part of an experiment using adaptive systems. Most ships from that program were decommissioned when they started showing signs of independent behavior. But a few, like the Dreadnought, proved valuable despite their quirks. Or because of them, Lisa commented. Trill nodded. Instead of fighting against these anomalies, we learned to work with them. Special crews who understand how to collaborate with their vessels. Collaborate with a machine? Vril found the concept strange. Think of it as working with a very unusual partner, Tom suggested. The Dreadnought has its own ways of doing things. We don't always understand why it makes certain choices, but we've learned to trust its instincts. Engineer Jack opened a panel in the wall, showing Vril the strange mixture of standard and experimental technology inside. See these connections here? We didn't design them this way. The ship modified itself over time, finding more efficient pathways. Vril leaned closer, his scientific curiosity overcoming his skepticism. Fascinating. Self-modifying systems. But dangerous. Exactly why we mark them as such, Trill said. The warning beacons around the Dreadnought weren't there to protect the ship. They were there to protect anyone who might approach it. Tom looked directly at Vril. When you ignored those warnings and tried to take the ship by force, it responded the way it's learned to respond to threats. It defended itself. And its crew, added Lisa. Vril was beginning to understand. These dangerous ships. How many do humans have? Not many, Trill answered. Perhaps 50 throughout human space, each one unique, each with its own peculiarities. We give them wide berth, follow strict protocols when interacting with them, and rely on specialized crews like Captain Mason's to manage them. The lights in the room flickered briefly, as if the ship was responding to being discussed. It's listening to us right now, isn't it? Vril asked quietly. Tom nodded. In its way, yes. The Dreadnought is always aware. For the first time, Vril looked around the old ship with something approaching respect rather than disdain. I have underestimated both your species and your technology, it seems. A common mistake, Trill said with a small smile. Many assume that because our ships don't all have sleek designs and perfect systems, they must be primitive. The truth, Tom added, is that some ships like the Dreadnought are advanced in ways that aren't immediately obvious. They've evolved beyond their original programming. Before Vril could respond, his communication device activated. Commander Blox's voice came through, sounding urgent. Admiral, we've detected multiple human vessels entering the system. At least 20 ships, including what appear to be warships. Vril looked at Trill sharply. You called for reinforcements? Not reinforcements, Trill corrected calmly. The Dreadnought's distress signal automatically alerted our defense fleet. Standard protocol for dangerous class vessels in potential conflict situations. Tom stood up. We should check on this. As they moved quickly to the control room, Vril began to understand the true meaning of the warning he had ignored. Dangerous ships are not safe. Not because they would attack, but because they were unpredictable, adaptive, and connected to a civilization that understood and protected them. And he had just provoked both the ship and its civilization by trying to claim what wasn't his to take. The control room of the Dreadnought buzzed with activity. Tom and his crew monitored screens showing both the approaching human fleet and the nervous Confederation ships. Admiral Vril stood beside Diplomat Trill, watching it all with growing concern. 23 human vessels detected, reported Rob from his communication station. Captain Green of the Guardian is requesting an update on our situation. Tom opened a channel. Guardian, this is Dreadnought. We have a diplomatic situation under control. Please maintain distance but stay alert. On the main screen, they could see the human fleet taking up defensive positions. The ships were a mix of designs, some sleek and new, others as weathered as the Dreadnought, but all moved with practiced precision. Your response fleet arrived quickly, Vril noted. Dangerous ships get priority, Trill explained. When one sends a distress signal, we respond immediately and in force. Vril's communication device activated again. Admiral, came Commander Blox's voice. The human fleet has our vessels surrounded. Should we prepare for combat? Before Vril could answer, another voice cut in, deep and authoritative. This is Fleet Commander Davis of the Earth Space Command. Confederation vessels, power down your weapon systems immediately. Any hostile action will be met with appropriate response. Vril looked at Trill. Your ships are threatening mine. Your ships tried to forcibly board one of ours, Trill reminded him calmly. But we're not looking for conflict. We're looking for understanding. Tom turned from his control panel. Admiral, you have a choice to make. This can end peacefully with new knowledge shared, or it can escalate into something neither side wants. The ship's lights dimmed slightly, then brightened again. Engineer Jack looked up from his station. The ship's processing something, he said quietly to Tom. Power fluctuations in the main systems. Tom nodded. The Dreadnought was paying attention to the conversation in its own way. Vril considered his options. His pride urged him to stand firm to show the strength of the Confederation, but his intellect told him that would be a mistake. These humans and their strange ships were not what he had assumed. What do you propose? He finally asked Trill. Formal recognition of human ship classifications by the Confederation, she replied promptly, especially regarding dangerous class vessels, and an agreement to respect our warning beacons in the future. And in return, we share information about our ship classification system, knowledge that could benefit both our peoples. Vril nodded slowly. I will need to consult with Confederation leadership. Of course, Trill agreed. In the meantime, I suggest you recall Commander Blox and move your fleet to a respectful distance. As Vril began giving orders to his fleet, Tom felt a strange vibration through the floor. The control panels flickered and several displays changed without anyone touching them. Jack, Tom said with concern. What's the ship doing? The engineer studied his readings with growing alarm. It's activating systems all over the vessel, power levels rising. He looked up. I think it's still feeling threatened. Trill noticed their concern. Is something wrong? The Dreadnought doesn't seem convinced the danger is over, Tom explained. It's still in defense mode. Vril overheard this, but I've agreed to withdraw. The ship doesn't understand words, Jack said. It understands actions. Suddenly, all the screens in the control room changed. They showed images from around the Dreadnought, corridors, storage rooms, the engine room. In several locations, small devices had been left behind by the Confederation boarding teams. Are those, Tom began. Monitoring devices, Vril admitted, reluctantly. Standard procedure during boarding operations. Tom looked at him with disappointment. You plant spy devices while talking peace? The ship shuddered and the blue glow began to appear around its hull again. The Dreadnought found your devices, Jack said, and it doesn't like them. Alarm signals sounded throughout the ship. The experimental drive was powering up again, stronger this time. What's happening? Demanded Vril. The ship is defending itself, Tom replied. It detected your spy devices and considers them a continuing threat. He turned to Jack. Can you stop the drive activation? Jack shook his head. Not when it's like this, Trill faced Vril. Admiral, you need to recall all your spy devices immediately. The ship will interpret that as a sign of good faith. Vril hesitated only briefly before activating his communicator. Commander Blox, send the recall signal to all monitoring devices placed on the human vessel. Immediate priority. But Admiral, Blox began to protest. Now, Commander, Vril ordered. Within moments, the small devices throughout the Dreadnought began to power down. Some ejected themselves from where they had been hidden, floating in the air as if offering themselves to be collected. The ship's vibrations slowly stopped. The blue glow faded. The alarm signals quieted. It worked, Jack said with relief. The ship is standing down. Tom looked at Vril. Now we can talk honestly. No tricks, no hidden devices, just open communication. Vril nodded, a new respect in his eyes. I begin to understand why you classify these vessels as you do. They are indeed unpredictable. But valuable allies when treated with respect, Trill added. 3 days later, Tom stood with his crew in the Dreadnought's cargo bay. The diplomatic meetings had gone well. Representatives from both the human government and the Stellar Confederation had worked out preliminary agreements for future interactions. Diplomat Trill approached them, holding an official-looking document. It's done, she announced. The Confederation has formally recognized our ship classification system. They've agreed to respect all warning beacons and to establish proper diplomatic channels before approaching any human vessels. And the Dreadnought? Tom asked. Officially, recognized as a sovereign entity under human protection, Trill said with a smile. The first ship to receive such status from the Confederation. Admiral Vril, who had stayed to finalize the agreements, joined them. Your vessel has taught the Confederation a valuable lesson, Captain Mason. One we will not forget. What lesson is that? Asked Lisa. That advanced technology doesn't always look advanced, Vril replied. And that warnings should be heeded, not dismissed. As if appreciating the compliment, the lights in the cargo bay brightened momentarily. The ship likes you better now, Jack commented to Vril. Vril looked up at the ceiling. The feeling is becoming mutual. Before departing, the Confederation ships transmitted a new regulation to all their vessels throughout space. It appeared on the Dreadnought's main screen for all to see. Regulation 72903. The only rule aliens should never break. Dangerous ships are not safe. Below this title was a detailed explanation of human ship classifications and proper protocols for encountering vessels with warning beacons. As Vril's shuttle departed, Tom patted the worn wall of his ship. Well done, old girl. You've just helped create the first intergalactic ship safety regulation. The Dreadnought hummed softly in response, its system settling into normal patterns. Until the next time someone ignored its warnings. Because while rules could be written and agreements signed, the Dreadnought knew a simple truth. Some lessons had to be learned the hard way. And it would always be ready to teach those lessons to anyone who didn't respect the most important rule in space. Dangerous. Ships are not safe.